Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. A long time ago, in a land not too far from here, there lived a beautiful little girl whose dad was the king. Everyone called the little girl Snow White because she had such fair skin, like her mother, who died when Snow White was a baby. Snow White was really cool. So was her dad. Unfortunately, not everyone can be so cool. One day, Snow White's dad, the king, married a really pretty woman who was not so cool. She was crazy. She was also really vain. Every day, the new queen would look in her hand mirror and say, "Mirror, mirror, in my hand, am I the prettiest lady in this land?" And the mirror would always say, "Yep," until one day when it said, "Nope." You see, Snow White had grown from a girl into a lady, and now her beauty surpassed the queen's. This made the queen furious, and she banished Snow White to the forest. Snow White was cool, so she went to the forest, made a bunch of friends, and learned to be happy there. She moved in with 7 really cool dwarfs who became her best friends. This was not quite what the queen had in mind. The queen kept asking her mirror if she was the prettiest in the land, and the mirror kept saying, "Nope." This drove the queen even more crazy. So the queen dressed up in a disguise, found Snow White, and fed her a black magic apple that made her choke. Snow White passed out. The queen celebrated. Then she ran back home to talk to her mirror again, because that is what crazy queens do. Don't worry, the queen would remain disappointed. What the queen didn't realize is that Snow White had tons of friends. The minute the 7 really cool dwarfs got home, they found Snow White and knew she was choking. So they worked together to help her dislodge the apple. Snow White snapped right out of it. Snow White was mad. She lost her cool a little. Look out, queen. Snow White was a cool lady, but trying to choke her was too much. She was done with this queen. She marched straight home, told her dad what happened, and helped him move the queen out of the castle and into the forest, where she was ordered to live from that day forward. The ex-queen wasn't what you'd call forest material. Stuck living in the forest, the ex-queen was pretty miserable. Eventually, the 7 really cool dwarfs took pity on her and agreed that she could live with them if she agreed to do all the cooking and cleaning. Not an easy job since there were 7 of them, but the queen got used to it and even learned to like it. She even ended up pretty cool. The end.